You know, let me just say, I walk on this street to get to the metro, and I know that that's this massive. I just want to get this too, because this is relevant. But this, and it's hot as fuck, okay? So this relevant, huge ass thing, okay? That's completely empty right now, hasn't been filled at all. So that's a great selling point, right? I'm gonna laugh when these people move in, because that water that I showed you, I mean, they could fix it at some point. But this is Burbank, so you gotta understand, Armenians have such a high role in city planning now that the entire process is corrupted and an instrument of fraud and grift, and has no cohesion with it's hot, like I said. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. No cohesion with what you would say are authentic Americans, not just white people, the brown, black, Asian, and whatever else you can throw into the mix that live in Burbank that are not Armenian. They have their vision of a community and city planning is different than that of the Armenians, who have no allegiance, no patriotism, and are purely opportunistic within the American economy. This is why 99.9% of Armenians are 100% ultra MAGA, because first and foremost, the reason they got their own church isn't like Koreans or Presbyterian and Episcopal. Those are all the same as the Armenian church, but the difference is all those other churches want anybody to come in, but the Armenian church is established to keep anybody else out, because it is the epicenter of Armenian organized crime. It's the core of the money laundering. Have you ever met a religious Armenian? Let me just put it like that. So anyways, that's going to get filled up with, it looks like 200 to 300 people that are going to be paying for their view, because I mean, I guess it's a view, I don't know. It's a view, don't worry. Which studies have also shown, I think it's funny, that large complex like this, they end up creating vortexes of exhaust from the freeway, so that any kids that move in there and play in the vicinity of that complex are going to be something like 20 times more likely to develop respiratory disorders than other kids throughout Los Angeles, which has bad air in its own right. So, but apart from that, the stench, that's the main reason I did it. The frickin' stench! You can't smell exhaust. So that's an easy selling point that you can get past. Any Armenian type salesperson will be like, oh, this the best, look at this view. Very exclusive luxury. But and that's gonna be in the daytime. And that's probably gonna be, because it's opening right now, summertime. So we're not gonna have any water for another 6 months in LA at all. If we get it in 6 months, people are gonna come during the day when it's dry. So they're not gonna know that stench exists and permeates the entire area. Just that area on that side of the freeway, because the freeway prevents it from going across the freeway. Oh, but then there's another thing too. So a little one, that's brand new too. And that's still pretty much all vacant. But that was just built. That one is different, because that one go by the freeway and it doesn't look like it has any play. Well, it does, but it doesn't have the problem that this side of the freeway has in the industrial area, which is raw sewage stench when moisture mixes with the land. So haha, Burbank, you're gonna scam all those people and they're gonna hate living there, and they're gonna talk shit about Burbank because you conned them intentionally, maliciously, and vexatiously, all to satisfy your Armenian neighbors who, without you knowing it, are prodding you ever deeper into a treasonous betrayal of your homeland and your fellow American citizens, so that the small little country of Armenia that has absolutely zero exports and has 2 to 3 times more people that identify as Armenian, just kind of like a Jewish thing, outside of the country, primarily in Europe and America, which means that all this fraud, what you get is the reason Armenia is not a third world country isn't because Russian aid or US foreign aid. It's because, where's my bus at? That's because, what was I gonna say? Why is it because? Oh, it's because all of the organized crime that Armenians are committed to anywhere that they go, as they, like Jewish people, use their cultural system to hyper sensationalize division and not just division but aggression, because you have to understand the reason Armenian culture is so hyper macho is similar to why the more Orthodox Jew you get, the more hyper macho. Not necessarily, don't get tough, it's not tough, it's different than hyper macho. In the Jew, that's why you see these little scrawny Jews with the thing. The way that they treat their women is like their children. They're not equal, and they love their children, but they treat their children like their children. And their religion teaches them that that is all the right of the father. So then the father looks at it just like the MAGA, right? It's immigrants. What are immigrants' existence is a threat to their rights. Okay, so in the Armenian psychology, because of their, I mean, they have a long history. I've studied the history of Armenia. I know about the great kings. I know about the mini empires. I know about the tension being crushed between large other powers. I know their role, some of the roles that individual Armenians have played in those empires, Persian, Roman, and Byzantine, which is also Roman, that rose to the ranks. And there might have even been an Armenian emperor of the Byzantine. I know there was some top generals, but the whole thing is their culture is that hyper machoism. From a psychoanalytical standpoint, is a emotional sensitivity that can be probably traced back to some type of underdeveloped like stress buffer, kind of like this. We have stress buffers in our mind so that you can go through life. So like you go to an Aboriginal in Australia, because of their situation, you call them primitive, but the catch is they live in the outback, which is, everybody would agree, is probably one of the harshest environments on the entire planet. I mean, you can say think about Eskimos too. Either one. Take the Eskimos or the Aborigines. So both of those are perfect examples, because what you have is the males raised in those systems, while they can survive isolated, completely alone, no mommy, no daddy, no homeboys, no church to rely on, in the harshest environments, completely isolated on a freaking desert of ice, literally, which is probably worse than a desert of sand, because at least in sand you can create some shading, but this type of psychology doesn't create the same type of machoism that you see in the Jewish, it's the more orthodox, and in the Armenian, it's just the generalization. It doesn't create that machoism, even though, as far as life skills go, sure, Jews and Armenians, which is funny enough, they both pride themselves on being very business orientated, which is another part of this machoism, because what is a business? A business is a psychological tool that is created to deflect the responsibility of your actions. I didn't raise your rent because I'm greedy. I raised your rent because I'm running a business here. I didn't do it because I'm a conniving, two-faced, corrupt, evil Jew. I did it because I'm a good businessman. I'm just being pragmatic. I didn't manipulate Burbank to convert apartments into condos under the premise. See, this is organized crime, right? So you got to underline, what is that? Your ulterior motive. And then you have the pitch. How are you going to bait them? Hook them. How do you hook racist Burbank? You bait them with, well, you know what? I got an idea. We don't have to do Section 8 housing if we don't have apartment complexes. So even though we have thousands of apartment complexes, the more we can convert into condos, the less Section 8 we have to worry about legally allowing into Burbank. And the white people that are at the top of Burbank are thinking, oh, these white people want to help us. They're not going to, like the Italians, right? In old school. And that's a really great thing right there, because as significant as organized crime is in Italy, nobody, well, I mean, maybe extremely racist people, but for the most part, on a general over the thing, nobody thinks of Italians as pure corrupt. Most people think of them as genuinely good people because, you know, we see it. I mean, they got their own macho shit too, but that's a big time mama complex. That's another nice little interesting difference in the Italian Armenian and the between the Italian versus the Armenian and the Jewish. Don't get me wrong, the Jewish has a mother complex, but that's secondary for the boys. So they bait them into this with this pitch. Hey, we can protect white us. That's why Armenians pitch it to white people. And the white people are, oh my gosh, these guys are so smart. No wonder their country is so old. Even though they don't get that the Armenians that are today have nothing to do, just like the Israelis, because of all of this interaction with other groups, the Khazars, which are Turks, the Persians, the Romans, the Byzantines, which were also pretty much Turks, and the Ottomans, the Turks. Whatever is considered Armenian DNA is at best 1-2%. I mean, it's a logistical thing over time. Because they're so old. I mean, it's a plus minus thing. Yeah, you guys have been around for like as an actual like country with land, home, living there for. I mean, they like to say that they're the first white people. That's why they call them Caucasian, because we're from the Caucasus Mountains. So they date themselves back to like 10,000 BC. That's how you got to understand. It doesn't matter what is true. It only matters what people believe. If you understand what they believe, you understand their actions. So they believe this. So they believe every other. Do you understand the projection? This is Jungian projection. They have to, and their kids have no choice but to believe this at the expense of their position in the entire social network. Grandparents, cousins, mate potentials, and as they grow up, their own kids become pressure points, because they are also, it's not a bad thing. The primate mind, humans are primates primarily. And the primate mind, the foundational primate mind that all humans are born with, relies primarily on imitation. So, I mean, and this is pattern recognition. So this is by recognizing first a point, then the other point, and then the third point is the alien. So, and it keeps it small. This is I call it a concentration camp psychology. So along with this, they so if they, like, you want to wake up, or what do you want to call it, and realize that that's all bullshit, and that the truth is that they say that specifically because they know that there's no such thing as Armenian DNA. And it's not a bad thing, because it's human. That's the whole, you going against nature doesn't make you divine. But that's another projection that all monotheistic religions, that's the only reason Armenians are monotheistic Christians. They could be Muslim too, but they just happen to be Christian, because their parasitic psychology, that is this machoism is something that they latch onto. That's a great thing. Behaviors are like, okay, ooh, I don't know how to do this. Okay, a behavior, try to visualize this. See a behavior as an animal, and then the person imitating that behavior or acting out that behavior as a flea on the animal. And that is, I don't even know how to say it. That's the best explanation I could say for how thoughts turn into behavior. But they cling to this monotheistic concept because it's a projection that we are, our entire psychological structure that we are forcing our kids to participate in is contradictory to human health. Therefore, it is destructive, self-destructive, because you have to do it to yourself, and therefore it is unnatural. It's in a psychological sense, it's the same thing as teaching your kids to cut off limbs of their body once they pass puberty. So, I mean, that doesn't give them very much to work with moving forward. It greatly reduces their outlook on life. Sure, you can overcome obstacles, but let's keep it real. So, going against nature in the psychological sense, because this unconscious, which we all share, just like the DNA of the body, they want to be Armenian and say we're different, but they got arms, they got fingers, they got everything else. Maybe they got 10,000 times more hair than us because they're actually the gorillas, the white gorillas. But anyways, who looks more like a gorilla, black people or Armenians? Oh! And the funny thing too is what's color? Oh no, actually gorillas are black. Chimpanzees then. Or what chimpanzees? That's, I guess, closest cousin. Who looks more like a chimpanzee? Black people or Armenians? But it doesn't matter because, again, we're all human. That's just a joke on them because they're sensitive to that stupid kind of fucking shit. So I think I lost my track of thought, but for the most part, just that one little allegory of behavior happened to come through this, so that's a good one right there. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But my whole point is just to say, when you look at the world, what you see doesn't define the world. It defines you.